All right, ladies and gents, welcome to a playoff 3, which is immediately very important here in the second round for these two players. We've got Running in the blue, Running playing as the Aztecs here on El Dorado. Running had an incredible series against Doubt in the first round, but unfortunately for him, he got 3-0'd. He was very close to getting wins in many of the games. At the end of the day, being close doesn't count. He is desperate for wins, and he's up against Lix, and Lix is similar situation where he was 3-0'd in his first round in this group in Titans League. So remember, it's wins that matter. There are tie breaks in the event players are tied on wins, but it's not sets, it's just wins. Whoever loses this series, and we know it will be one player, will immediately be in a very tough position in terms of survival with then 3 rounds remaining. I think, if someone gets 3-0'd here, it's devastating because there's still like incredible names up to play. My favorite in this series is Running. I felt like Running's strategy was really clean. He struggled with follow-up at times. But Lix, I think he's gone for a real easy pick here in the Khmer. And he's going to go forward, and he's stealing some of these turkeys at the start. Now, if you watched the Lix versus Yo series, Lix died to the Khmer. And what I found while watching the Khmer is, well, optimally, maybe there's better civs. Civs that can maybe do more damage early, and civs that can do a bit more in early castle age. The Khmer are smooth, right? They're very smooth, and the big thing with that is not having to build a mill for their farms. There's nowhere of value you really build your mill as a player on this map, except for maybe on the shoreline. And so the fact that in a messy situation, you can just plop down farms everywhere, and they're extremely efficient, really helps. So thus far, Lix is hoping to get any advantage he can here. And having already stolen some turkeys, it's kind of funny. Running could see that one go through the middle because that's part of this map. Looks like he's just stopped temporarily. But Lix is now here with his scout. And he's hoping to double back here to lame this villager. I don't think he'll be in time. He's really trying to gain any edge he can, and he just passes there. And at this point, he'll probably go home. So good work from Running. It looks like he sensed the scout. He did get housed here. I also noticed idle villager at the start. I don't know. This is weird. Some stuff's going on here with Running here, guys. He still hasn't placed the house. Am I crazy? He's going to get pop capped after Loom. I don't understand. This is really weird. This is bad housed. Typically, it's like, oh, I got pop capped. Oh, I'll get Loom now. But he researched Loom, and then he got housed. I assume maybe he thought he placed the house and just kind of out of it, but he's going to be basically could be 2 eco behind if Lix chose to fish, that is. And Lix has not docked yet, and he doesn't show me any signs he wants to dock. This might be really fast uptime. He might just try and kill on land quickly. So Running, possibly needs to just snap out of it a little bit here the first game. Wake up. I did wait a little bit for this series. I assume there was time to practice and whatnot. And yeah, Lix says, screw your water. A lot of players have incorporated water. But he says, I've got enough food. I've stolen your turkeys. I pushed in some deer. I've got all the fish underneath the TC. And I know exactly where you are. I could actually see from what Lix sees, I could actually see scouts and towers. Right? You're going to be up so quick. But if the player just small walls in, the scouts can't really get value right away. But I think if you come forward and you tower this, and he's just small walled, the villagers have to leave. It feels like a very Lix thing to do. Lix is up already. This is pretty ridiculous. I still personally feel as though you can fish at the same time. The fact that he's not fishing might make it easier for him to execute. Okay, now he's going to go to gold. Interesting mining camp. I still think that's one tile, but that's just a really bad spot for the gold, I guess. So now I think he's going to open archers. But yeah, anywho, I really do feel as though because you're Khmer, you don't need the barracks before an archer range or a stable. That wood savings could lead to you having a dock. And okay. So what Lix did to Yo was he snuck a vill to the side. So he didn't dock originally. He snuck a vill to the side, and then he went to kill Yo's fish. So that is what this is. So I think this will still be scouts for Lix. It would make sense with all the food. And then he's going to dock over here. He's kind of snuck this dock forward. Because it takes a long time otherwise to get the Navy over there. Running, he's going to be a little scared by that uptime. Running's going to scout. He's going to see the villagers on gold. He's going to look here. He's not going to see a dock, but there's not much you can really do about it. Yeah. The bots have shown up to watch Titans League today. I don't know. I think we got mods coming up. Mods should be coming in. Just ignore it. Just say no thanks. I like this from Running, how he had the 2 villagers on the shorefish. Very smart thinking. And you see Lix is ready to kill. Lix is ready to lame, too. Turkeys could easily be stolen. Little house wall here starting for Lix. Lix, villagers need to be on food. I'm sure he'll notice it. And now scouts are on the way. Running, just now getting the barracks, but I'm sure there's some concern. And did he see that stable? He didn't see the stable, but now he sees the additional scouts. So he will know his opponent's on scouts. So yeah, you just make some spearmen here and you're going to be okay if you're running. I think the problem here is your fish could go down. He is not prepped to defend his fish at all. Lick's finally looking for a kill with all this aggression, and he's going to get it. There we go. Little wall off here on the right side for Lix. Scouts are on the way. But, I mean, you know, you make 2 spears, and you should be okay against this. I think Running will be okay. He's had more eco than his opponent has because he's had the fishing ships. He will now start to lose some of these fishing ships, so the aggression pays off initially for Lix. But at the same time, Lix doesn't have any fishing ships behind this, which is why I am not a big fan of the whole skip the dock approach. I like the sneak dock approach, but, you know, Running's just made his own fire now, and Running's fishing ships are still going to be fine. Running walls in against the scouts. I think Running's done a really good job here. Again, I just think Khmer are very easy to play, and I think Lix is being realistic with himself and his abilities here. Because he can't play as optimally as maybe some of the other players. He wants to go towards his strengths. Nothing wrong with that. Now, over on this side, we've got skirmishers on the way as well for Lix. So, Lix hoping to find an answer to the spearmen, hoping then to open up an opportunity for these scouts to do a lot of damage on land. Running has defended his fish. Curious on res collected here. Res collected 500 more resources for Running. Maybe about 400. That might change as well. And there's the first skirm. Okay, so showing that skirm here should tell Running I need to either tower the gold or like double barracks and start to add eagles now. Eagles are quite expensive. Or I guess the main issue with them in Feudal Age is they take very long to produce compared to Castle Age. Now, you are Aztecs, so you do produce a little bit faster, but those are just things you think about. Now, as the fight's happening here and the tower's up, Lix had moved in here and Lix now backs away. I would love to see, actually, both players have a demo now. This is the perfect little choke point for demos. Important moment in this game coming in because you can tell Running is flirting with the idea of heading to Castle Age right now. Oh, demo moment. Here we go. Running needs to split up his ships. Running. Actually, that's not a bad demo. He kills the other demo and also weakens that one ship. This villager's exposed, but he will get the walls down just in time so the rest of the villagers don't go down. Ultimately, good aggression from Lix. He hasn't taken any eco losses himself. He's killed 2 eco. And he has Running on the defensive all the time. It feels like if Running just had those turkeys that were stolen at the start, if he just had maybe 300 more food, he could easily head up. He's on his way, though. He's going to drop market. He is still missing a blacksmith, though, so he's one more building removed from being able to click up. And behind this is why you pick the Khmer, right? So now, you know, this farming eco, I mean, he's still got hundreds of food and fish. What's going on here? Okay, it's only like 300. But yeah, it feels like those farms are really going to feel strong here over time. And Running is going to have to eventually drop a mill and place farms around the mill, too. It's not going to be easy. Oh, and look at Lix coming forward here. Lix is going to try and drop a tower. That is the only gold for Running before Running would head to the middle. Really surprised by the lack of army production here from Running. He didn't queue up any eagles. He's floating the resources. He could click up to Castle Age and also make eagles. So I think Lix's aggression, you know, making it difficult for Running to make the right decisions. Running will click up. Now he queues his first eagle. But Lix is going to drop a tower that will push Running off of gold. And, you know, like, this is also could lead to villager kills as well. These villagers are going to need to head somewhere else. And Running, giving up a lot of map control here. Ultimately, his goal is to control this middle Goldenstone area in Castle Age, though. But, you know, surely now, you're going to have to just pull the weak villagers away, and it's a really annoying task to have to do that. I think there's a slight chance there's a hole here. Okay, there's no hole. I just said that because earlier I saw villagers chopping a tree that was near where those houses would be. Second barracks from running. He can use the market for now. I don't actually have the market events on, come to think of it. But you'll start to see market events fly in. I honestly could see him selling some stone. It's a tough decision, though, because you kind of want the stone for towers or castles in the middle. Lix hasn't clicked up yet. Lix's farming eco is looking great. Running brought his fires over here to kill Lix's fish. Lix doesn't have any. And ranged units for Lix trying to loop around this way to meet up with the group. But they're all kind of separated. You've got some inside the tower there. Here you've also got villagers in the middle from Lix that Lix has kind of forgotten to control. So he's doing the right thing to go there, but that's a nice snipe from Running. And Running was definitely paying attention there. Okay, so you can tell now, like, I think he's gonna maybe sell a little bit of stone. But if anything you're gonna sell, you might want to sell wood. That's gonna be for a castle in the middle from Running. And upon reaching castle age, the eagle will reach 7 base attack. So that's a really big thing here. You do a lot more damage with those eagles without having to upgrade them. And Running clears it up. Running defended his fish. Those 4 fishing ships aren't the most efficient anymore, but he did have them. He got into eagles. He's getting +2 armor, and here come the vills. He needs gold. Well, he knows where to find the gold. Everyone knows where to find the gold in this map. And Lix is going to take some fights here. Actually, a good start to the engagement here for Lix, because the eagles aren't engaging for Running. You could see the nerves. You could see how like messy this series might be. I think we're going to see a lot more of this. And Running now has enough for a castle, and there's nothing that stops him from dropping this castle here. The only thing that's interesting is if he drops it here, it doesn't fully control this gold too. But yeah, castle will go down. Running is very low food eco. That's important to remember here, okay? It's obviously scary times if you're giving up gold in the middle and there's a castle. But, you know, Lix's eco isn't horrible. And this is where I'd like Lix to have like 10 fishing ships, you know? This is where I think having fish and farms feels strong. Lix, though, put so much of his focus into the aggression. He found reward. Big question, obviously, is it enough? These trades aren't awful for him, considering he's probably not going to make archers anymore. But it's also not bad for Running, who Running's going to be happy to clear that up. See the exposed villagers. He's on the golden stone now. He could just buy food if he needs it. He's just going to be producing eagles. I'm sure we'll see monks, too. And both players searching for their first win here in Titans League Platinum 3. And, oh, man, Lix. I mean, again, there are some positives. But are there enough positives in this situation? Other times what we've seen is player gets the middle at the cost of their food eco because they, like, give up water, right? Running has had water. He's controlled water. He's protected water. And now he's got the gold. And yeah, sure, he doesn't have, like, as many farms. But, I mean, Lix, his farms are exposed. Wasn't able to get any walls down here. And Running going to be really happy with this find. He'll see the scouts from Lix. He'll see the knights from Lix. Keep in mind, Lix will soon run out of gold on a map that can be incredibly snowbally, which is it's still so shocking to me that it's been game 1 so frequently. Like that, which means it goes through a series of like 4 bans on either side. And players in Platinum have seemed pretty comfortable with playing this map. So, no Eagle Warrior upgrade. So, you know, that's something to remember here. Knights trade pretty well against the Eagles. This is typically where you'd want to see monks come out. But Running's got full gold coverage. And, well, Running's got to see the weak knight. Go for the knight. Maybe back away there towards the castle. It makes a bit of sense. Okay, he's buying food. Lix still in the game. Still has crazy food eco. And I don't know where these vills are going. These vills seem to be going towards his stone. He's kind of walled towards his stone in an awkward way. And knights now have armor on the way. But they only have forging right now. So honestly, the knights... The base attack and HP is what really makes a knight strong. But knights are far from being fully upgraded. And Lix with the HH and then the GG. And Lix doesn't get the job done. So I think I know what Lix was trying to do. right? I think that he knew his opponent was fishing, so he wanted to disrupt that. And then he wanted to expand into farms and get lots of scouts and archers out there. But honestly, Running just defended really well. I love Running's lack of hesitation with the gold. Well, actually, first, I loved Running's defense on water because he didn't even know this dock was here. But he naturally made a fire galley in the first place. That could have been some homework from him, knowing that Licks like to do that because he probably watched the Rex from Licks in the first round. So he held his fish. Then he was up much later to feudal age, but he defended from the initial scouts, held off from the initial archers, had just enough eco to get to castle age, and then didn't really take that much damage. Even here, you can see Running making some adjustments, going to fish the outside even more had this game continued. And it's a snowbally map, right? So just toss everything on the stone and go for the castle. I remember being frustrated when players in another group didn't do that. Running gets his first win in Titans League. Good for him. And we'll see if Licks can recover. Res Collect is actually very similar. But if you think of Licks' army, like most of the army that Licks made went down or had no value in the long run. The archers all went down. The scouts pretty much went down. The fire galleys went down. The Running's engagements were superior, but then Running also had the units to, still be active and get value from over the course of time there. All right, so in the first game, we saw that Licks had a game plan, but I personally disagree with the game plan. We talked about it a little bit. I was saying how I really feel like you have to fish yourself on that map, and him not doing so and just not getting the value from his early aggression wasn't able to get the job done on the neutral map. Here we've got Migration. This is Licks' home map. And so feels like there's the best chance for Licks to get a W would obviously be on this as the final game, which will be played regardless. That is going to be on Running's home map, which is a bit more closed. And I've got a lot of confidence on Running in that closed map. I've got a lot of confidence on Running on this map as well. I think it fell into the category of he should have beat Doubt. He should have beat Doubt. Didn't beat Doubt on this map. It just kind of froze up a little bit in the heat of the moment. All right, so I have to remove these little... I actually think I'm going to keep it on for now. But eventually, I think I have to stop using the fish border mod because it's just getting to be a pain when I'm casting, and I just can't trust myself to toggle things through. Also, I do want to just quickly... this should say play all 3, so that makes more sense at the top. Perfect. But listen, I've yet to be super impressed with Licks' level thus far in Platinum. He played Yo in the first round. That first game, it lacked a little bit of oomph. It lacked a little bit of something extra. So, Italians are insane. Japanese are insane as well. It's hard for me to say which one I really prefer. I think that both of them have their strengths. Being cheaper to go up to the next age every single time you go up to the next age is a huge bonus for the Italians. Having cheaper fishing ships, having cheaper dock techs, all those things just work out so nicely here. Japanese early game does feel a bit stronger and a lot more smooth, I'd say, because of the cheaper lumber camps. So it's pretty easy for them to just spam fishing ships and get the fishing ships out and not get pop locked and things like that. Having the armor on the fishing ships is especially helpful. Though I will say, if it's Castle Age fires versus Japanese fish, the Japanese fish still die pretty quickly. So I feel like the fish armor is not actually even the biggest aspect of the Japanese here. It's probably just the cheaper lumber camps. Like, you can go double lumber camp with insane amounts on wood, thus easily affording the houses and the docks and the fishing ships required for the fast castle fish boom a bit easier than the Italians can. And, okay, Licks is now going to go for a mill here. Licks is doing some different stuff, guys. I'm a big Licks fan. I think for him, he may feel as though he has to take risks. That could be it. Or it could be that he doesn't look at the games. He doesn't follow the meta. He doesn't, have the same strategic mind as maybe, yours truly does. But the mill here is not common. Typically, you see the second dock and more fishing ships. So this tells me that he's maybe considering a galley approach or something, but I cannot make an argument for where this is actually good. I'm going to still leave some sense of mystery here, though. Because you've got cheap fishing ships, right? And the idea is players are so far apart from each other with water that if you make Navy early on, by the time it gets over there, the opponent's already up to Castle Age and will have Navy of their own. Yeah, he will need the mill for fast castle, 100%. Typically, you see, like, you're going to see running make the mill while he's on his way to the next stage. Maybe a little bit before, but fishing ships seem to be the priority here. Listen, I think one of Lix's weak points as a player is prep and strategy. Okay? So this might end up coming back to bite me, but what I'm seeing here is not going to take him to Castle Age. It will take him to the middle, possibly, because he's making a transport ship. But I think in order to have a good Castle Age time off this, you need to sell all your stone, thus ruining your ability to boom in the middle, which can be important later on. This is very different. The running's on the way. Or farming on a map when you've got cheap fishing ships and there's fish everywhere. It makes me want to scream. It really does. Okay? But I'm not going to scream for you guys. I know you guys like to sleep to my content sometimes, so we don't want to do that. Fishing ships galore for running. Here's that transport ship from Lix. This is Lix's home map. And Lix is sailing along. The mainland's in the middle. And it's going to drop off that scout there and start to scout the middle. Late to gold for Lix. So he didn't go to gold, but I think he was going to sell stone anyways. So I think maybe he factored that in. And this will definitely be... You know what I think he's going to do? I think he talked to... So I think Yo gives him all of his strategy. Like, Khmer was a pick because Yo did it against Lix in the first round. So I think, like, in Lix's mind, he gets bits and pieces. I think Lix is going to try forward dock here as part of his strat. And he's going to try and punish running that way. Running has lots of wood right now. This is actually interesting. So I think running will also have to use the market. No, he'll be fine. He'll be fine. He'll market blacksmith. He can actually queue up a couple fires as well as make these buildings, which is always kind of nice. Yeah, Yo's favorite thing is to forward dock and go kill fish that way instead of going around the sides. I think that's what Lix will do. Lix is up, guys. Lix is clicked up. Did not use the market at all, actually. So in terms of, you know, critique, I think a little unfair for me in terms of his uptime. It definitely felt like this balanced out for him. And still could build the TC in the middle if he wants to, because he'll have the stone later on. Lix with the different strategies. He's not making any Navy at home, though. Does he not just lose all of his fish at home as well? Maybe he's factoring that in. He is making fires from one dock. This is just... It's going to be so tough to compete with numbers here if you're Lix. Running has done the prep. He knows who he's playing against. He's looking, but he misses it. It just didn't check thoroughly. I think he might have even been looking for just more fish. And it's double dock on the front from Lix. But Lix's eco, man, like, it's going to be struggling in comparison. 1,000 more resources collected for running thus far. You have to do damage with this. The cheaper dock techs, you have to see the War Galley research come in here. But we've got to see some benefit to this double dock approach here from Lix. And running continues to miss this, which is just so unfortunate for him. He is, however, going to kill Lix's scout in the middle if they continue to engage there. Good micro back from Lix. They both have 20 HP. Running still can't see those docks. Guys, this would be an amazing win for Lix if he can make it happen. And there's running. Isn't in Castle Age yet. It's not as cheap for him, so he waited a bit more time. He sees the docks, though. War Galley upgrades on the way for Lix. Running's going to have a lot of work to do. Now, if Running just had one fire, head over to Lix's side, Lix would lose all of his fish, which is why I think the strategy is incredibly all-in. You're banking on, you know, this has to do damage, right? You are banking on this killing your opponent. If it does not, there's a lot of downsides. But Lix kills the scout, and Lix will have a lot more focus on the front. He's not booming yet, because we're going to see the TC there from Running. There's no way to deny that for Lix. Thus far, Running is defended really nicely here on water. And he's got 8 ships versus the 4 of Licks, or 3 of Licks, actually. I mean, you've just got 6 fishing ships that, well, don't have a dock to relocate to fish all that well in the future. That food eco is not going to do that much for you in the long run here if you're Licks. And Running's defending perfectly. 3 docks to produce from versus 2. We may even see him as Running's actually coming back. Nope, he's headed forward. We might even see Running choose to make a dock here. Yeah. You make a dock here so these fishing ships are more protected in the midst of this battle. That's a really nice demo from Licks. But I think like actual long-term good all-in, good balanced strategy from Running. He's executing as you would expect real high-level players to do. And Licks is taking risks here. Licks is really hoping that he can make this happen quickly. Possibly some confidence issues for him, having been promoted up to Platinum. Sometimes you just have to be realistic with yourself and say, you know, I just don't have it in me to be able to do it. Or maybe he has all the confidence in the world, but he hasn't really prepared and practiced and realized some of the things that I'm saying and some of the things I've spoken about. Fishing ships obviously going down for Licks right now. He's trying to use monks on the shoreline, and Running's paid close attention to that. And all the fishing ships for Licks will go down. So now he has no food eco. He hasn't killed a single fishing ship from Running thus far. Running's going triple monastery! Well, he knows it's going to be a siege push, right? He doesn't actually know it's going to be a siege push, but maybe senses it. I think Running has thought to himself and said, my opponent will have no food. He can't go scouts. The only thing he can do is like siege or monks. So I will just mass a ton of my own monks to defend from this. And redemption comes in. I mean, Running really comfortable with monks. What is Licks supposed to do against that? Licks could try and make his own monks maybe. And Licks uses his monks here to get good conversion. So Licks has continued to be a pain in Running's side here. Still love how Running's fishing ships have been working. And I love the redock. Like, that is this next level stuff here on migration that a lot of players forget to do. I don't know. It feels like we are just one big conversion away from, as the villager is underneath the TC for some freaking reason, feels like we're one conversion away from Licks maybe tapping out. Like, Licks here, he loses his mango. And now he's got monks trying to convert ships. Running's going to get atonement so we can just convert Licks as monks. And then the strategy falls flat. We do have a atonement coming in for Licks as well, though. Okay, so he will also try and convert monks, but he doesn't have redemption, so he can't convert siege. But he also doesn't have a second TC at all. He doesn't have any fishing ships. Running is played incredibly clean here. And I think his strategy has made way more sense. Sorry, words are hard for me. Maybe need to get a second cup of coffee here. Running on the move. Okay, monk micro time. Let's see what happens. Running hasn't clicked initially. This could snowball. Now Running's clicking. The Licks should get conversions faster initially. Monks are confused and switching sides. Behind this, though, villagers out of both TCs from Running the entire time. You could see Running possibly, adding in something other than monks, too, if he wants to. Because he has food eco. His opponent does not. There's the stable from Licks. The guy's got 5 on food. He's going up to 6 farms here with 0 fishing ships on migration. You're not going to be able to make enough scouts at this stage of the game to bring it back, most likely. Now, with redemption and sanctity not being in, the monks could die to the siege here. And that's the only villager Licks has here on this island. Now, obviously, he sees this, says, I need to convert my siege back, has to go for redemption for his own siege. He has to try and convert his own siege. And then the stable, of course, gets denied. And I think Running able to settle down a little bit mentally. It's these moments where you expand your eco. We'll see him spend that wood a bit more, I'm guessing. Maybe I'm a little too ambitious, but I feel like, you actually can farm here. Right now, pulling the fishing ships back. That's nice from Licks to finally find an eco kill. He was like, where are these things? They're not in front of my docks anymore. Again, when I compared the levels, I felt like running brought an insane level that could have led to 2 or possibly even 3 wins when he had played against Doubt, but he didn't get any of them. He was 3-0'd by Doubt, which was probably so disappointing for the German. Licks, it was similar. He got 3-0'd, but there was never a game where I was like, man, that strategy made sense to me. Man, I can see the practice paying off for this player. Just didn't see it. Right now, Running's practice is actually paying off, right? We're seeing it, and we're seeing a really good bounce back series for Running. There's a slight chance where maybe Licks could find an engagement, but it feels like with Running's economy, man, he's always going to be able to recover. He's added Spearman because he knew the stable would come up. So he's Japanese, good Spearman to toss in with the monks. He's got 16 freaking monks, which I think was, is still a little excessive. But yeah, he uses this control, expands his farming eco on top of moving the fishing ships around. And Licks still desperate here for his first win in TTL Plat. He's looking. He's going to see these Lycav. Running will anyways. And that's enough monks to maybe even convert the Lycav. But then you just add a few more spears if you're ever worried about it, right? It's a lot of monks. There's a reason why players have been opening scouts on this and not reacting with scouts, because this is just ridiculous. But honestly, I think we could see even more in the next game as monks are switching sides at the moment, because it is on a closed map, which is Running's home map. A map that Licks didn't ban. Licks banned Lands Madness, an open lands map, which... Another thing that's kind of confusing about Licks today. And the GG is called. Licks on his home map doesn't look like he played a single practice game, in my opinion. Like, against good players, this type of approach is just asking for trouble. He was down 800 resources collected when they both made it to Castle Age. So you have to kill them. You have to kill. And then you're up against Japanese. And the thing is, it's like almost every single game, players are transitioning to 3 docks at home. So yeah, you have 2 forward docks, and it can be good. But you're still not going to be able to outproduce. I think Running expected it. He was kind of looking for it. And what Running didn't expect is that Licks would be so unguarded at home. Running played very strong there. Disappointed, honestly. Licks is such a big name. He came up. I don't think he's going to be able to stay alive in Platinum if he has strats like that. But, maybe he can recover. If he snags a win in the next game, which will be on Running's home map, if he snags a win in that next game, then suddenly he's got a win on the board. 3 rounds to go. And things will look a little less bleak for him right now. But right now, like if Running wins the next game and goes 3-0 after being 3-0'd, suddenly he's like, I'm back, baby. Obviously, you do got to keep in mind, though, other people in that group are also going to play Licks. So if Running were to do that, he would then become the biggest Licks fan and hope that Licks would steal wins from some of the others. All right, so we're going to switch the colors up, obviously. Here we are, game number 3. I really want to see Licks come with a solid strat here. He's gone for the Byzantines. A civ that when you think closed maps, you think cheaper Imperial Age, cheaper trash units. They can kind of do everything, which I think could be suitable for Licks. Running with his number 1 civilization choice, the Bohemians. And we've seen a lot of the Bohemians on Zawal, the map where there is one neutral wall through the middle. Neither player has control of that wall. And we've seen a lot of fast imp action, so I think that could be good for Byzantines. Now, we are on the new patch, and they changed the way the wagons work. I'm wondering if, Running is still going to incorporate wagons, because some players have incorporated the wagons. What I like, as strategy I've seen with the Bohemians that I think is really good, and it's perfect for setting the, how do I say this? For taking control of the game, is building a castle on the front with the Bohemians, adding a wagon or 2, and then adapting from there. And the reason I say that is because that wagon is a siege weapon, okay? It's really hard to kill with, like, scouts, and it's really hard to kill with ranged units. So if you add it, the opponent's going to need something else, and very commonly players are going to have monks, so very commonly players will then think, let's convert it. but then you need redemption. So you force your opponent to spend 500 gold to convert a unit you can just make 1 or 2 of. And suddenly that 500 gold might not pay off for them because your wagon, you don't make many more wagons, right? Or another example is like you force them into a siege workshop. So you get the castle up to protect the gold to pressure the area, make 1 or 2 of them, adapt. If they don't make enough to stop it, then make more wagons. Otherwise, maybe do something else in the Imperial Age. So that's kind of what I like about it. The Byzantines don't really have a ton of take initiative bonuses. It's like, see what the opponent's doing and adapt from there. If they make cav, we can make lots of cheap spears. If they make range units, we can make lots of skirms. So if this goes real late, I could see Byzantines making a ton of skirms being really, really strong here. But yeah, we'll see. Someone says, does the Platinum group stage work like Gold does? Second and third to playoffs? Yes. So yeah, maybe I should touch on these points a little bit more. We are only in week 2, but yeah, let me just break it down. So first place in each group, they go up to, they go immediately into the quarterfinals. And then second and third place in each group will go to a playoff round of 12. So the round of 12 is obviously prior to the quarterfinals. It's second place versus third place from different groups. The winner of that set then moves on to play a first place player in a quarterfinal. Does that make sense? And then it's like knockout from round of 12 to quarters all the way up towards the final. And there is placement prizes, obviously, for those positions. Okay, Lix is bringing Vils forward. What is this? Is Lix going to try and batter this down in Dark Age? Okay, he definitely repaired that wall for a second. What? I don't understand what just happened. I want to rewind, but Lix... Oh my god! You can't batter it down with villagers. Here's the deal. I've never seen anyone try this. I assume that that's how it has always worked. But I wonder, has Lix ever tried it? I was critical of him in the second game because I was like, I don't think he's ever tested this. Eddie tested this before the game, or tested this one single time in any practice games, he would have probably known. And then there's a question, and it's like, hey, is it supposed to work like that, T90? And then I talked to T West about it. We try and figure out what we do to the map. Guarantee you he never tried it before. I will also say, I kind of thought that you could potentially break through the stone wall. That was his plan. He's now had to change his plan. Am I happy that Lix is now 0-5 and he's gone for a strategy he's clearly never tried before, though? As a Lix fan, not really. But that's interesting. So he didn't spend stone on it, which is really good. Because that was essentially like a repair function. Can you imagine if he would have spent stone on repairing someone else's wall? Because it's not technically his wall, so... Is it just in Dark Age? I don't know. I always felt like the Wolves, or in this case, the Tigers, I guess, it was what had discouraged players from trying to do that. But yeah, it does support the Lix hasn't practiced argument, for sure. I think you have to manually command attack and not just right click. Interesting. I don't know. I would have to test it myself. If anything, if we have time, maybe we could do that a little bit after, but I think from at least what we've seen, there's something weird going on with that. And Lix would just fast castle now, which is what everyone has done on this map. I think Lix is going to be going fast in. And running is going to go for the castle build that I talked about. Because running's got a good head on his shoulders. And I'm not the one who came up with that strategy. It was Dragonstar, who I know running's pretty close to. They teamed in a team game tournament together, and they probably practice and talk a lot of strategies together. So I'm sure they had discussions, and it was Dragonstar's strat that really made me think, man, adding a couple wagons. Even if the wagon isn't your core strategy, it can be, but I think it can be really strong. T90, what's your take on the wagon changes? From what I understand, it's a big buff for low armor units and a big nerf for high armor units. I honestly haven't played around with it. In the event that someone felt as though the wagons were bad, though, I think Titans League and other maps have shown they are situationally very strong. I also think pros specifically have underutilized them as a meat shield in armies. Do you agree or disagree? Okay, so a lot of people, you might disagree, but it's fine. A lot of people have been very opinionated about the wagon. Wagon sucks, blah, blah, blah. I could show you plenty of examples with great players that the wagon's in the old state anyways. Very strong, actually. And I was a little concerned about them making changes to the wagon solely because the Bohemians are already so freaking good at what they do. I was thinking, like, do the Bohemians need more options? Why are we making this better? That's kind of my concern there, too. It's like, maybe because they didn't feel the wagons were good. The devs, made other aspects of the Bohemians really strong, and now they're adding more. I can't give a lot of opinions on the new wagons beyond the perspective of the situation. We'll see, I guess. So, I think running is going to go for the castle just to take initiative. But obviously huge downsides economically for him right now. This might be our first look competitively at the new wagons. I love this strat with the Bohemians. You getting your mining upgrades for free in each age benefits you greatly here. Lots of stone, lots of gold, making use of your bonuses. And then they have solid enough monks as well. Now, running's just going to have to be careful because he doesn't actually have loom. So if he plans to make the castle forward, he'll just need to make sure that he fights off the tigers. He should be able to use the scout with it, so. Well, Lix is going fast imp, so I'll tell you what Lix is going to do. So it's not like Lix is gone for a poor build here. I mean, the 2 villager thing, obviously that was notable, but Lix's follow-up strategy isn't bad. It's probably what I would think would happen with the Byzantines. And what I think would happen would be you go defensive castle and you go fast Imperial Age for Trebs. The problem is, how do you stop wagons? You then need monks. And then what's going to happen is you're like so many steps behind because you're going to imp. And you're like, okay, I need redemption. Oh my god, I click redemption. What if running makes 4 monks and gets atonement and then just converts your monks? Atonement's cheaper. And your opponent's going to have more monks because running's not going fast imp. So it's like, there's a lot of stuff that happens here, man. It's like, if you need the monks to kill the wagons, because nothing else can really kill them, granted these are new wagons, then your opponent just makes more monks. I mean, it's closed map meta, right? It's like kind of closed map stuff. This wouldn't be possible on a map that didn't have this giant wall through the middle, but it's really good to make your opponent make mistakes. Or, get a step up in the decision making. Yeah, there's 3 sets today in total, so this will be the first series. The second series will be Barles versus Lan. The third series will be Marguga versus Vleza. Initially, it was going to be Hera versus Ganji today as our second set, but Jordan is ill apparently, so... Okay, so Lix is making his buildings here. He sees there's a castle there. And here come the wagons. Again, you can't convert this until you get redemption, which is ridiculously expensive. So the wagons just destroy you in this type of timing. This is sub 17 minutes. The wagons are insane. Lix will ideally want a castle somewhere where he can treb. Like, if you make the castle here out of necessity to protect yourself, how are you supposed to get the trebuchets here? You would then need an army to protect the Treb. So I think Lix is going to have some rough times here. He's going to get loom. And so these are the new wagons. I honestly need to read the patch notes a little bit myself on it too. I haven't really toyed around with it too much. My opinion was always that the wagon didn't need change though. Yep, and now you have Lix realizing my opponent will probably... The only thing that's realistic for my opponent to add would be monks. That's going to be conversion. Monks had sanctity. Monks started conversion for a long time there. Lix chose to take the engagement anyway. And running. Still in Castle H. Knows there's a castle going up there. He will know that this castle doesn't worry him because he could just run around it, but also because the Trebs would have to go here now to take his castle out. But Mangonels still do bonus damage against these things, so that's the thought process. Obviously, for running, tons on gold. He's just going to go to the next choice. Running being... He's kind of splitting up. He's got 2 scouts now, so he's got Licks kind of surrounded. He doesn't have a monk here to protect these wagons at the moment. He's going to convert a villager in the back, so that'll be a villager down for Licks. Running, still looking around with the scouts. Actually didn't convert. He actually he was going to, and he changed targets and then just stopped because he knows he needs this monk, which is really smart, actually. Yep, and now he can convert the mangonel. And there are the wagons on the villagers. Easy as you like. The scouts on the villagers. Easy as you like. Villagers going down. It's just 3 wagons, and look at the damage he's been able to do here. And Atonement is in for both, actually, but Running had it first. Because Licks is like 2 or 3 steps behind because he invested everything into the Imperial Age, and Licks is just getting completely smashed here. This strategy is really strong from Running. I think you even circle back to the fact that Licks tried to attack the walls. Licks didn't really know what to do here. The accuracy on the wagons seems better. I assume they changed the accuracy on the wagons. If they did do that, I think they've just unraveled some bigger, or they've produced possibly some bigger problems balance-wise for the Bohemians. Oh man, you have no market now, Licks. You have no market. He can't leave. Like, where does he go? He's completely surrounded. There's blue everywhere. You lost your siege workshop. You can't make siege. You've gone imp to make 1 monk. He's getting block printing from that monastery. This is huge for Running, man. This is amazing. These 3 wins are so needed for Running. I guess, like, the worry for Running will be, will the 3 wins feel valuable in the long run if Licks also gets 3-0'd by everybody else? Because this will be the 2nd straight 3-0 for Licks, unfortunately. Yeah, wagons definitely seem stronger than before. But I close out this cast with a little bit of disappointment because it feels like every other time we've had players who are promoted that have come up to Platinum, I could tell, oh my god, they've been practicing. Holy crap, they're in shape. Because they realized the first 2 weeks, like, you got to come out swinging, right? Haven't felt that way with Licks in Titans League Platinum. It's been the opposite. I mean, it doesn't even look to me like... Remember, gold was the same map pool. To me, it didn't even look like he looked through Rex from like, the level below. Byzantines wasn't a bad pick here. But I think that Running's pick and this strategy is almost unbeatable if you do it properly. And Running has played incredibly strong here with it as well. He's looked comfortable. He's looked clean. Licks is staring at his PC right now. I don't know what advantage he thinks he has. But he doesn't have a single relic. Running has all the relics. Running has good economy behind this too. It's not as if Running hasn't had economy. And maybe Licks is just really down in his feels right now. It's very possible. I don't know what he's feeling like at the moment, but I know Running's feeling great. Maybe with the score and the amount of monks, Licks feels like this is all 1 TC from Running and there's no eco behind it. It could be that. I don't know. But feels bad to see the poor guy just flounder here and still try. He does have block printing, so I think he feels like with 12 range on his monks, he can just convert Running's monks. And slowly losing buildings to conversions and rams. Slowly losing villagers to conversions. Running is still booming, right? Like, I mean, he's 1 TC, but 1 TC eco is far superior to anything that Licks has. It's 51 eco versus 20. And for Licks, he will have to play... let's see, who else is in this group, right? He has to play... I'm confusing myself now. I think it's Daniel and Valis that's in the group, right? So he'll have to play Daniel. He'll have to play Valis. He'll have to play Doubt. And try and avoid being 5th or 6th after not getting any wins in the first 2 rounds. That's rough. That is rough. That means he needs to win 2 out of those 3 sets. And even then he's in trouble, right? Like if you win, let's say you win 2-1, 2-1. I think you're still going to need to maybe win 2-1 in the 3rd round. There's only 5 rounds, 6 players in each group, around each week. That's why it's so important to not get 3-0'd in an ideal world. Yeah, running did get heresy a long time ago. Sorry I didn't talk about that. It didn't actually feel notable because the game has been so skewed. No, he did research it. But, I mean, he had the gold for it, and he's still on the way to the Imperial Age here. He's making hand cannons, too. This group, I mean, all the groups are insane, right? And the other promoted player in this group is Daniel. And did you guys see Daniel play against Valis the other day? Holy crap. Daniel played incredible. That whole series was incredible. The level was extremely high. I know running's been hard at work strat-wise and practicing. So I'm really happy for running because I think that this will build up his confidence going into his next rounds. Conversions on hand cannons will happen. The units will just die. Seems like running is happy to try and convert the opponent's monks, because he knows his monks won't switch over and it won't snowball. Still a bit of an interesting decision. I feel like, you know, maybe he's just planning to live life without monks altogether here in the Imperial Age. But, I mean, hand cannons looped around. The GG's called. And it's a disappointing result as a Licks fan, but not hugely unexpected that running would be more prepared here and really come for the kill here today. So after 2 rounds, running has 3 wins. After 2 rounds, Licks has 0 wins here in this group. For Licks, my greatest disappointment actually comes back to his home map, though. I felt like Licks has the talent to play Migration a little bit stronger. This is a map I would have always expected running to have a really good strat on. Running also drafted first for it, right? But Licks drafted first for game number 1, which wasn't able to get the job done. He then drafted second for game number 2. And this was more of like a backup pick where he tried to figure something out here. Right now, I do not know what civilization can stop this strategy from being successful. I really think Bohemians are number 1 on this map. There's a world where, like, normally players would say, well, let's say maybe Turks or like maybe Spanish. I don't think Turks will do it. I don't think Spanish would do it either, actually. Because I don't think, like, if you drop your castle, the Kongs don't do enough damage versus the wagons, to my knowledge. Again, it's still new wagons. You just gain so much initiative where your opponent needs to invest so much into just stopping the wagons. And then you add monks. You invest into monks with all the mining upgrades. I think Bohemians is number 1. I think we might see Bohemians banned a lot in the future if other players agree with that statement. At least against running, I think you should probably ban it. But yeah, GG, great series. You know, it wasn't quite as close as many people want, but it happens at times. And big bounce back victory there for running.